reason is nobody's fault. No Republicans' fault, no Democrats' fault. We started having smaller families after the war. After World War II, we had big families, and then they had smaller families, and then they had smaller families. There used to be 16 workers for one retiree. Now there's 3 workers for one retiree. So I kind of jokingly say, when people say whose fault it is, I say, well, it's not Republicans' fault, it's not Democrats' fault, it's your grandparents' fault for having too many damn kids. And there's some truth to that. It's a demographic shift.
Right.
Big families to small families. Simple, but it's profound. The other thing is we're living longer, which is a good thing, but something's going to have to change. When Social Security was started, the average life expectancy was 65. They didn't have to worry about paying you. No one was living long enough to get it. Only a smaller percentage were. Now a much larger percentage are, and that's great. We just have to fix the system. You have 2 choices. If you're working, we can raise your Social Security tax to about 20–30%. That'll fix it. Might also fix your budget where you have no money left over to buy anything. So I think that would cripple the economy if we raise the payroll tax that much. The other way to fix it is to gradually raise the age and just acknowledge you're going to work longer. I know I'm going to have to work longer, and I know it's probably going to have to go up, or it's going to, everybody would have to be cut. If you cut everybody 25% across the board, the poorest among us who live on just their Social Security check would be devastated. We can't do that. And so the best way to do it, you fix 2/3 of the shortfall by gradually raising the age. 2 or 3 months a year for 20 years. Doesn't affect anybody who's on Social Security. Doesn't even affect those close to Social Security. Used to be you could fix it 55 and under, but that was 2 or 3 years ago. Somewhere in the 50s and down, we'd wait a little bit longer. Now that fixes 2/3 of the problem. You have 1/3 left. It's still a problem, and you can't quite get there with just fixing the age. I have said that you're probably going to have to do what's called means testing, which means those who made more are going to get a little bit less. People say, I remember talking to a radio show host, we won't mention any names, he probably makes like $14 million, TV host, $14 million a year or something. And he's like, I'm not giving it up, I paid him the Social Security, I deserve to get it back. And I'm like, there's no money. I mean, you gotta figure out where it's gonna come from. Under my plan, if you made more than $100,000 a year, you would give up a couple $100 a month in your check. And people say, you want to do this to people, and it's like, no, I don't. I'm just trying to figure out how to fix the problem. But if you do nothing, everybody would have to be cut. And I think if you raise the age, it fixes 2/3 of the problem. The remaining third you can fix by doing what's called means testing, which doesn't eliminate benefits, but says the people at the higher end lose a couple $100 a month.
Can I just say, it seems like a math problem. Why isn't anybody? I mean, is the partisanship? How do we get around that? It's just like a kick in the can problem, basically.
I would say because you've elected a bunch of chicken. Somebody told me I wasn't supposed to say that, so I'm not going to say that. But the problem is you do have people who are afraid of their own shadow. They like the job; it's the best job they've ever had. The congressmen and senators, none of them can do anything else. So they want to stay in that job, so they don't want to touch any of the third rails that might cause you, if you were, not being fair, to say, oh, well, he's going to try to. I don't want to take anyone's Social Security. Well, I want to fix the problem. But I'm willing to tell people the truth, and I think people are starting to get to the point where they'd rather hear the truth than someone just, pander to them and say, oh, we don't have to do anything. It's all fine and everything will be rosy. I don't know. I think more people are waking up and wanting to hear the truth. In Washington, they're afraid. They're afraid to tell you what has to be done. And if they tell you, they're afraid to put it on paper, because then someone will attack them and say they're trying to hurt Social Security. When the reality is, I'm actually trying to help Social Security. I'm trying to help keep it around. Yes?
Yeah, what's your feelings on gun control on illegal